In a small, quiet town, a series of brutal murders began to shake the community. Each killing was more gruesome than the last, leaving behind clues that pointed to one chilling detail. The culprit was a young boy named James. At least that's what witnesses swore they'd seen. James himself, in broad daylight, walking calmly from each crime scene with empty, hollow eyes. James was only 12, an unassuming child with a love for books and games, quiet and timid, the type of boy that blended into the background. So when he was hauled in for questioning, his family was in shock, the townspeople horrified. No one could believe it, but the evidence was undeniable. Blood on his clothes, fingerprints at the scenes, a grim trail of bodies following his every step. But James knew nothing of the murders. The authorities couldn't understand his strange insistence that he remembered nothing, that he had been home with his mother, fast asleep. Every alibi seemed to crumble under scrutiny, and as the evidence mounted, the town's whispers turned to cries, demanding justice. The spirit, the true monster in this story, had chosen its vessel carefully. A dark, ancient entity that thrived on fear. It had been waiting for just the right soul. James, an innocent boy, was the perfect mask. Each night the spirit would slip into his form, possessing him, using his body to commit horrors unimaginable, and each morning it would retreat, leaving James confused and disoriented. But as the trial approached, the spirit became bolder, whispering to James, haunting his dreams. James began to see shadows in his own eyes, faces he didn't recognize. In his reflection, he saw himself smiling in ways he knew he'd never smiled. He'd wake up with scratches on his arms, dirt on his hands, his room filled with the metallic scent of blood he couldn't explain. In court, as he sat in the witness stand, the spirit was there, hidden behind his innocent eyes, waiting for the right moment. The judge's gavel slammed down, and with it James's fate was sealed. He was sentenced to life, condemned for crimes he never committed but that his body had delivered. The cell he was thrown into was dark, cold, and merciless. An eternal prison for both the boy and the spirit that now lurked within him. And each night, as the prison grew silent, the spirit would rise again, chuckling in the darkness, taunting James from within. The other prisoners began to whisper of strange happenings. Guards would find eerie scratches on the walls, and they all swore they could hear a young boy's voice laughing in the dead of night. James, trapped with the spirit that wore his face, would spend the rest of his days in terror, powerless to stop the murders that continued even within those prison walls. And as the years passed, the townspeople whispered of the monster child in the prison who killed without mercy, a young boy named James.